Yeah, they do.
What do you want to start with?
Organization.
Organization.
Hello. Your tadpole team this year is going to be Mrs. Macon and Mrs. Dempster. So when you come in the morning, check in with them. Make sure you know who you're working with. This year our goal is to try to keep you with the same kids. I know sometimes you've all committed to at least 3 of the 4 weeks, unless there's an emergency. So hopefully you work with the same group, but occasionally you have to move kids around because somebody progresses a little slower or a little faster and you need to balance it out. We did that a little bit last year. But hopefully you're working with the same group of kids so that every day you know to go look for that group of kids. And then if you have any problems, check in with these ladies and they can communicate that to the parents. The other thing too is if you have kids that come late or kids that come who won't separate from their parents, you need to get the kids that are there and get started, because we had a lot of problem with that last year, people arriving late or kids who wouldn't get in the pool. And your commitment really is to the kids who are ready at that moment to get going. We don't want to hold them back. Okay?
Why don't you guys come a little closer and you don't have to shout so much.
And depending on numbers, I think we have 15 barbells, and you're going to need kickboards too. So we're going to have to rotate depending on how many kids are in each group. Not everybody can start with a barbell because we probably won't have enough. So if barbells are gone before you come in, then maybe you work on blowing bubbles and kicking on the stairs, and then when the barbells appear, your group takes the barbells. Or you go over and work on back floating first. So you kind of have to be able to go with the flow related to that, because we have a lot more kids than we have barbells, but we're hoping to kind of make 2 groups. So when you come in, make sure you get your dive toys and put them somewhere, and then look at whether you're not here to start with a barbell or need a hoop, knowing where your kids are going to go.
What I was going to talk to you about is more less administrative and more about how to actually teach swim lessons to these kids. And there's a couple of things I just want to start out in general saying. First of all, one of the things I've taught a lot of swim lessons myself, and I've watched a lot of other people give swim lessons. And there's a few mistakes I see people make a lot, and I just want to tell you about them so that you guys, can be better. First of all, you need to remember you're working with little kids. For the most part, they're all under 6, okay? You can't ask them to be thinking about 4 different things at one time. You need to identify a skill that you want them to concentrate on and focus in on that. And that's what you're working on at that moment, okay? Don't give them a list of 4 things to do, to try to remember when they push off the wall. And that's hard. When I work with my own children, I find myself still doing, and I want you to think about, and then think about this too. And it's too much, okay? So you really try to just think about one thing at a time. Also, you need, and Melanie and I were just talking about this, you need to model what you want the kids to do, okay? Learning, we all learn in different ways. We need to hear it, we need to see it, and sometimes we need someone to actually help us physically do it, okay? So if you want to show the kid how to kick properly while putting their hands on the stairs or on the barbell, model it for them first, okay? When they're doing it, if they're not doing it correctly, don't be afraid to get in there and actually move their feet, okay? Touch their feet and move their feet for them, okay?
Put your hand under their back and push their belly up,
Okay.
because doing it right from the start means they're learning positive habits, good habits versus bad habits that are hard to correct.
It's all muscle memory, and they need to feel the correct motion so they understand what that feels like. And sometimes just saying it, like when you say straighten your legs, they're going to lock their legs out. And you all know you don't kick with your legs locked out. Okay, but that's what they think. They're 4. They take you very literally. So straight legs to them is not going to mean what you think it means, what it means to you. Okay? So you may have to show them. If you get in there and you grab onto their ankles and you start moving their feet, let their legs bend a little bit, you can say, yes, that's right, and you emphasize and get all excited when they've got the right motion so they know, okay, this is what she's talking about, okay?
Little kicks, little kicks, little kicks.
All right, so those were the general things I wanted to say about teaching swim lessons, and I'll get to some more specific things as we kind of go through this. The packet that we've given you is incomplete. Okay, so if it seems like something is missing, I know
No, I whited out. I whited out.
You won't think that as much, but this came out of a bigger swim lesson curriculum. but these are the parts that are relevant to the ages and the ability levels that you all are working with, okay? The first page talks to you about, how to run a successful class, because that's essentially what you're doing. You're running a swim lesson class, okay? We're not calling it swim lessons, but you're teaching someone how to swim. Ideally, you're going to be working with the same kid or a couple of kids every time. So you're going to get to know them, and you're going to know after a week, this is what they can do, this is what they can't do, okay? It will go a lot more smoothly for you if you arrive at the pool with some idea of what your goals for that day are, okay? I want to work on kicking with this child. They're bending their knees and they're kind of doing a bicycle kick. I want to work on that. I really want to work on breathing, and I'm going to use these activities to do that, okay? So you have some idea of the games you want to play, or the things that you want to do. If you come prepared, then when you arrive and you think you want to start with the barbell and there's no barbells available at that moment, you've already got a mental list of other things that you want to do, so you can pick one of those, okay? I always try to have an opener and a closer, a song or something to get them into the water that's fun, and then something to close with, okay? That's just a routine I like to set. It seems to ease the transition for the kids and close the lesson for them. And we'll talk more about some suggestions. These things aren't going to mean anything to you right now, but in the bottom there in the grid, I have suggestions for starting a class. So these would be songs and games that you might do at the beginning and you might do at the end. And we'll go through those in a second, okay? All right, looking at the lessons, the way I've broken it was broken down in this curriculum is preschool beginner, preschool intermediate, and school age beginner. Most of your kids are probably going to be of the preschool age, although there could be some 5 and 6 year olds in the group, and you might want to push more towards the school age beginner for that, okay? Anything beyond that is probably on the tadpoles on the team and is probably not going to fit in with what you're doing, okay? If you look at the preschool beginner, let's just look and talk about like what kind of child we're talking about. Everybody, and some of this is not quite applicable to you all of these children that you have in these lessons should be able to put their faces in the water. They should all separate from their mom pretty well. They should be able to go under the water, pick a toy up off the bottom. They should be reasonably comfortable. Okay, what you are trying to do is get them to swim basic freestyle. It may not look pretty even at the end of the summer, but they're well on their way, and probably basic backstroke, okay? I see swimming as having 3 parts. You have kicking, you have your arms, and you have breathing, okay? I would say from what I've seen in the past years with the groups of kids that are in tadpoles, you're not going to be putting all of those things together for several weeks, okay? You guys are all good swimmers. You've got to remember how complicated swimming is. You've got to remember to kick your legs. You've got to remember to move your arms alternating in the right way while holding your breath and turning your head to the side to breathe at the right moment. Okay, that's a lot, and these kids are little. Okay, so don't ask them to put it all together too early because they won't be able to do it. Don't be afraid to isolate the skills, and when they're really good at them, then put them together, okay? And that doesn't mean that you can only work on kicking and you can't work on arms and you can't work on breathing. There are arm activities that you can do while you're not doing kicking, and breathing activities you can do while you're not doing kicking, and you're isolating the skill, okay? So your goal for a preschool beginner is to have them be putting their face in the water and exhaling. You'll probably be starting some rhythmic breathing with them. You're going to be getting them to the point where they can kick correctly on their back and on their stomach. On their stomach first, on their back's a bonus, okay? But they should be able to float on their back, all right? How do you know if they can do that? Well, they should be able to go under the water and pick up a toy, and that will probably involve exhaling. They should be able to push off the stairs and kick to you on their stomach with their face in the water, and they should be able to just float on their back without you helping them, okay? All right, so let's look at the next